The gym was packed that Wednesday evening as I pushed through the glass doors, a nervous energy coursing through my veins. It was my first time at Elite Fitness, and I'd finally taken the plunge to hire a personal trainer after months of half-hearted attempts to get in shape on my own. The reception area buzzed with the sound of energetic music pulsing from the main workout floor, mingling with the mechanical whir of treadmills and the occasional grunt of exertion. I approached the front desk, clutching my water bottle like a lifeline, and gave my name. Alex Mitchell, I have an appointment with Jake? The receptionist smiled knowingly, a glint in her eye that I couldn't quite decipher. First session with Jake? You're in for a treat. He's our most requested trainer. She gestured toward the wait area. He's just finishing up with another client. Have a seat, and he'll be with you shortly. I settled into one of the sleek chairs, trying to ignore the flutter of anxiety in my stomach. What had I gotten myself into? My fitness journey up until now had been a series of starts and stops. Downloaded apps abandoned after a week, gym memberships that gathered dust, running shoes barely broken in. But something had to change. After my doctor's gentle warning about my blood pressure at my last physical, I knew I needed to commit to something more structured. That's when I saw him for the first time. Jake Harrison moved through the gym with an easy confidence, his athletic build a testament to his profession. His dark hair was cut short, and his smile seemed to light up his entire face as he shook hands with the client he'd just finished training. There was something magnetic about him, an energy that drew your eye even in a room full of fit, attractive people. And when he turned that smile on me, approaching with his hand extended, I felt my heart rate quicken in a way that had nothing to do with exercise. Alex, I'm Jake. Great to meet you. His handshake was firm, his palm warm against mine. Ready to get started on your fitness journey? I nodded, suddenly finding it difficult to form words. Up close, his eyes were a striking shade of green, crinkled at the corners from his smile. As ready as I'll ever be, I managed, trying to sound more confident than I felt. Jake led me to a quieter corner of the gym for our initial assessment. So tell me about your goals, he said, clipboard in hand. What brings you here today? I explained my situation, the doctor's warning, my sedentary job as a graphic designer, the general feeling of lethargy that had become my constant companion. Jake listened attentively, nodding occasionally, his eyes never leaving my face. There was no judgment in his expression, only genuine interest and understanding. We all start somewhere, he said when I finished. The fact that you're here shows you're ready for change. That's the hardest part. He set the clipboard down. Let's start with some basic movements to assess where you're at physically. What followed was a series of exercises that left me red-faced and embarrassingly out of breath. Squats, lunges, push-ups, or rather, my sad attempts at push-ups, and a flexibility test that revealed just how much my body had stiffened from years behind a desk. Throughout it all, Jake was encouraging, adjusting my form with gentle guidance. You need to keep your core engaged here, he said during a plank, his hand lightly pressing against my lower back. Feel that? That's what we're aiming for. The warmth of his touch lingered even after he removed his hand. I tried to focus on maintaining the position, but my arms trembled with the effort. Don't worry about how long you can hold it right now, Jake reassured me. Form is everything. Hands on, or it won't click. That's what I always tell my clients. As the session progressed, Jake's hands-on approach became a constant. A slight adjustment to my elbow during a bicep curl. A guiding pressure on my shoulders during a squat. Each touch was professional, purposeful, but I couldn't help noticing how my skin seemed to warm beneath his fingers, how I found myself looking forward to those brief moments of contact. By the end of our hour together, I was exhausted but strangely exhilarated. Jake handed me a towel and a bottle of water, his fingers brushing mine in the exchange. You did great for your first session, he said, that smile returning. How are you feeling? Like I might not be able to move tomorrow, I admitted, taking a long drink of water. Jake laughed, the sound rich and genuine. That's normal. The soreness means you're challenging your body. But here's the thing. He leaned in slightly, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial tone. It gets addictive. Soon you'll be chasing that feeling. I wasn't sure if he was talking about the workout endorphins or something else entirely. Either way, I found myself signing up for 3 sessions a week, a commitment that surprised even me. Over the next few weeks, training with Jake became the highlight of my routine. Each session followed a similar pattern. Jake pushing me just beyond my comfort zone, his hands guiding, correcting, supporting. Yet despite his hands-on philosophy, I began to notice something curious. His hands never lingered. Each touch was efficient, professional, brief. It was maddening in a way I wasn't ready to acknowledge, even to myself. Our conversations during workouts evolved from fitness basics to more personal topics. I learned that Jake had been a college athlete before a knee injury ended his competitive career. He shared stories about his family in Oregon, his golden retriever named Max, and his passion for rock climbing on weekends. In turn, I opened up about my work as a designer, my struggle with work-life balance, and my recent breakup that had left me feeling adrift. Sometimes we need to rebuild ourselves from the ground up, Jake said one day as I completed a set of deadlifts. Physical strength can be the foundation for everything else. There was something in his eyes when he said it, a vulnerability that suggested he was speaking from experience. I wanted to ask more, to dig deeper into his story, but the moment passed as he moved me on to the next exercise. By the 1-month mark, I was seeing noticeable changes. My energy levels had improved, my clothes fit differently, and I dropped 5 pounds. But the most significant change was in my confidence. I stood taller, moved with more purpose, and even found myself looking forward to workouts, something I never thought possible. "You're a natural," Jake commented during a particularly challenging circuit training session. "You've got great body awareness now." I laughed, wiping sweat from my brow. "Pretty sure that's all you're doing. Your hands-on approach seems to be working." Something flickered across his face, a momentary break in his professional demeanor. "Speaking of which," he said, his tone shifting slightly, "I've been meaning to ask if you're comfortable with how I coach. Some clients prefer verbal cues only." The question caught me off guard. "I'm completely comfortable," I said quickly, perhaps too quickly. "I mean, I wouldn't be making this progress without your guidance." Jake held my gaze for a beat longer than usual. "Good to know," he said finally, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Let's finish strong then." That evening, as I drove home, I replayed our exchange in my mind. Was he checking in professionally, or was there something more to his question? I'd been attracted to Jake from day one. That much I couldn't deny, but I'd assumed the feeling was entirely one-sided. He was my trainer, after all. There were boundaries, professional ethics to consider. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted between us. The following week brought a new development. Jake suggested we meet for an outdoor training session at the local park. "It's good to mix up environments," he explained. "Plus, vitamin D is important for recovery." The park was busy with weekend activity, families picnicking, dogs chasing frisbees, other fitness enthusiasts taking advantage of the perfect spring weather. Jake led me to a relatively quiet area near a cluster of oak trees. "We'll use the natural environment today," he said, setting down his bag. "No fancy equipment needed." The workout was different from our gym sessions, more playful, less structured. We used a fallen log for step-ups, raced up a grassy hill for cardio bursts, and used resistance bands tied to tree trunks. Throughout it all, Jake maintained his professional demeanor, but there was a lightness to our interactions that hadn't been there before. During a water break, we sat side by side on the grass, watching a group of children flying kites in the distance. "Can I ask you something personal?" I ventured, feeling bold in the sunshine. Jake turned to me, shielding his eyes from the sun. "Of course. Why did you become a trainer?" "I mean, after your injury, you could have gone into any field. Why this?" He was quiet for a moment, his expression thoughtful. "When I got injured, I lost more than just my athletic career. I lost my identity, my purpose. The physical therapist who helped me recover, she didn't just heal my body, she helped me find a new path. I wanted to do that for others." He plucked a blade of grass, twirling it between his fingers. "Everyone comes to fitness for different reasons. Some want to lose weight, some want to get stronger, but underneath, most people are really looking for transformation of some kind. Being part of that process, it's incredibly rewarding." His words resonated deeply. Wasn't that what I was seeking too? Not just a fitter body, but a version of myself that felt more alive, more capable? "That makes sense," I said softly. "You're good at it, you know. The transformation part." Jake's smile was different then, warmer, more personal. "Thanks, Alex. That means a lot." The moment stretched between us, filled with unspoken possibilities. Then Jake cleared his throat and stood up. "Ready for the next round?" "I'm thinking bear crawls up the hill." I groaned dramatically. but inside I felt a new kind of energy building, a mixture of determination and something that felt dangerously like hope. The following sessions brought subtle changes to our dynamic. Jake's professionalism never wavered, but there were moments, fleeting glances, shared jokes, the occasional text checking in on my recovery, that suggested our relationship was evolving beyond trainer and client. Then came the setback. During a particularly intense leg day, I felt a sharp pain in my lower back while attempting a new personal record on squats. Jake noticed immediately, his hands steadying the bar as I winced. "Let's stop there," he said, concern evident in his voice. "What happened?" I explained the pain, embarrassment washing over me. After weeks of progress, this felt like a major step backward. Jake led me to a mat and had me lie down, his hands gently probing the affected area. "It's probably just a muscle strain, but we should ice it right away. No more training today." The disappointment must have shown on my face because Jake's expression softened. "Hey, setbacks are part of the journey. This doesn't erase all the progress you've made." He helped me to a private room in the gym, where he applied an ice pack to my lower back. The concern in his eyes made my chest tighten with an emotion I wasn't ready to name. "I feel stupid," I admitted. "I should have been more careful." "We both should have," Jake countered. "I pushed you too hard too fast." "That's on me." His hand rested on my shoulder, a gesture of comfort that felt different from his usual training touches. For a moment, neither of us spoke, the air between us charged with unspoken feelings. "You know," Jake said finally, his voice quiet, "I've been thinking about our training relationship." My heart skipped a beat. "Oh, you've made incredible progress. You don't really need me 3 times a week anymore. You've got the basics down, you understand proper form, you're motivated." Disappointment flooded through me. Was he trying to cut back our sessions? Had I misread everything? "But," he continued, his eyes meeting mine, "I find myself looking forward to our sessions more than I probably should." The confession hung in the air between us. I swallowed hard, trying to find the right words. "I look forward to them too," I said finally. "More than is probably appropriate for a client." A small smile played at the corners of Jake's mouth. "That puts us in a complicated position. Because you're my trainer? Because I take my professional responsibilities seriously. And because I value what we've built too much to risk it on a whim." "Is that what this would be? A whim?" Jake's expression grew serious. "Not for me. But there are ethical considerations. Power dynamics. I'd never want you to feel pressured or uncomfortable." I sat up slowly, mindful of my back. "I appreciate that. But I'm an adult capable of making my own decisions. And I know what I'm feeling isn't just gratitude or admiration for my trainer." The tension between us was palpable, a living thing that seemed to pulse in the small space of the treatment room. Jake's hand moved from my shoulder, trailing lightly down my arm. "What if we tried something?" he suggested. "Take a week off from training. No sessions, no gym contact. Give yourself space to make sure this is what you want, without my influence." The proposal was both disappointing and touching, evidence of Jake's integrity. "And after the week, if you still feel the same way, maybe we could meet for coffee. Not as trainer and client, just as Jake and Alex." The week that followed was one of the longest of my life. I found myself checking my phone constantly, composing texts to Jake that I never sent. I went to the gym at odd hours, both hoping to avoid him and secretly wishing for an accidental encounter. My back healed quickly, but the ache of his absence was harder to ignore. By the time our coffee date arrived, I was a bundle of nerves. We'd agreed to meet at a small cafe several blocks from the gym, neutral territory where we wouldn't be surrounded by the context of our usual relationship. Jake was already there when I arrived, seated at a corner table with 2 cups of coffee. He stood when he saw me, his smile sending a familiar warmth through my chest. "No workout clothes," I commented, taking in his dark jeans and button-down shirt. "I almost didn't recognize you." "Same goes for you," he replied, his eyes appreciating my own casual but carefully chosen outfit. "How's your back?" "Completely fine. Turns out I have a pretty good trainer who knows how to handle injuries." Jake laughed, the sound easing some of the tension between us. You had a good trainer." The implication wasn't lost on me. "So you're officially not my trainer anymore." I spoke with the gym manager. "Transferred your remaining sessions to Maria. She's excellent, by the way. But only if you want to continue with someone else." He paused, his expression growing serious. I wanted to remove any professional conflicts before we had this conversation. The gesture touched me deeply. Thank you for doing that. It couldn't have been an easy decision. Easier than you might think, Jake admitted. The past week gave me clarity too. I missed you, Alex. Not as a client. As you. The confession sent a thrill through me. I missed you too. More than I expected to. We talked for hours, the coffee growing cold as we shared stories and perspectives that had never quite fit into our training sessions. I learned about Jake's failed engagement 2 years prior, his dreams of opening his own boutique gym someday, his childhood spent moving from city to city with his military father. In turn, I opened up about my creative frustrations at work, my strained relationship with my parents, my fear of never finding a place where I truly belonged. As afternoon faded into evening, Jake suggested dinner at a nearby restaurant. The transition felt natural, as if we'd been dating for weeks rather than navigating our first real date. Over pasta and wine, our conversation deepened further. Can I ask you something? I said, twirling pasta around my fork. That thing you always said during training. Hands-on or it won't click. Was that just a training philosophy, or? Jake's smile turned slightly mischievous. It's a legitimate coaching technique. Physical cues can be more effective than verbal ones for many people. He took a sip of his wine. But I won't deny that I enjoyed the excuse to be close to you. Yet your hands never lingered, I pointed out. You were always so professional. Trust me, it took considerable restraint, Jake admitted. Especially these last few weeks. But I meant what I said about respecting boundaries. The honesty in his eyes made my heart race. And now, are those boundaries still in place? Jake reached across the table, his fingers intertwining with mine in a touch that was decidedly not professional. I think we're establishing new ones. Together. The weeks that followed were a delicate dance of getting to know each other outside the gym context. We went hiking, attended a cooking class, spent a rainy Sunday at the art museum. Each date revealed new layers to Jake. His patience with children we encountered, his unexpected knowledge of Renaissance art, his terrible but enthusiastic singing voice when a favorite song came on the radio. Physical intimacy evolved naturally between us. The first kiss happened on our third date, standing on my doorstep after dinner. Jake's hands, those hands that had guided me through countless exercises, cradled my face with a tenderness that made my knees weak. When we finally pulled apart, his eyes were dark with an emotion that mirrored my own. I've wanted to do that since your first squat, he confessed, his voice husky. I laughed, leaning into his chest. Even with my terrible form? Especially with your terrible form. It gave me an excuse to keep my hands on you. Not everything was smooth sailing. When we finally decided to go public with our relationship, the reactions at the gym were mixed. Some staff members were supportive, while others raised eyebrows at the trainer-client origins of our relationship. Jake weathered the gossip with grace, but I could tell it bothered him to have his professionalism questioned. People will always talk, he said one evening as we walked hand in hand through the park where we'd had that pivotal outdoor training session. What matters is that we know the truth of how this happened. And what is that truth? I asked, genuinely curious about his perspective. Jake stopped walking, turning to face me fully. The truth is that I fell for you gradually, fighting it every step of the way because I respected my role as your trainer. The truth is that I made sure to create distance and give you space to make your own choice. And the truth is that what we have now is something real and honest that grew from mutual respect. His words washed over me like a warm wave, settling any lingering doubts. I love you, I said, the words escaping before I could consider their weight. Jake's expression softened, his eyes crinkling at the corners in the way I'd come to adore. I love you too, Alex. More than I thought possible. 6 months into our relationship, Jake invited me to participate in a charity fitness event his gym was hosting. Teams of 2 would compete in a series of challenges to raise money for a local children's hospital. Despite my initial hesitation, I was still nowhere near Jake's fitness level. I agreed. The event was larger than I'd anticipated, with dozens of teams and hundreds of spectators filling the gym. As Jake and I warmed up together, I felt a familiar anxiety creeping in. I'm going to embarrass you, I whispered, watching the other competitors, most of whom looked like fitness models, completing their warm-up routines with ease. Jake's hands found my shoulders, squeezing gently. Impossible. We're not here to win. We're here to challenge ourselves and raise money for a good cause. His eyes held mine. Besides, no one here has made the progress you have in such a short time. I'm already proud of you. The competition was grueling, a circuit of exercises that tested strength, endurance, and teamwork. Jake and I moved through each station together, his encouragement never wavering even when I struggled. During a particularly challenging round of partner exercises, I heard him call out, "Remember, hands on, or it won't click," as he guided me through a complex movement. The phrase, once simply a training mantra, now carried layers of meaning between us. I caught his eye, and we shared a private smile, a moment of connection amid the chaos of the competition. We didn't win any medals that day, finishing somewhere in the middle of the pack, but the experience solidified something important for me. Watching Jake cheer for my small victories, feeling his unwavering support through each challenge, I realized that our relationship had given me something far more valuable than physical fitness. It had given me a partner who saw my potential even when I couldn't see it myself. That evening, exhausted but exhilarated from the day's events, we collapsed onto Jake's couch, his arm draped comfortably around my shoulders. "You were amazing today," he said, pressing a kiss to my temple. "How are you feeling?" "Like I might not be able to move tomorrow," I replied, echoing my words from our very first training session. Jake laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest. "Some things never change, but some things do," I countered, shifting to look at him. A year ago, I couldn't have imagined doing what I did today. Not just physically, but putting myself out there, being vulnerable in front of all those people. "That's the thing about strength," Jake said thoughtfully. "Once you build it, it extends beyond the physical. It changes how you move through the world." I thought about that, about all the ways I'd changed since walking into elite fitness that first day. My body was stronger, yes, but so was my confidence, my resilience, my capacity for joy. "Thank you," I said simply, "for seeing something in me worth investing in." Jake's expression grew serious, his hand finding mine. "You had it all along. I just helped you find it." He hesitated, then added, "That's what love should do, I think. Help us discover the best versions of ourselves." As I leaned in to kiss him, I marveled at the journey that had brought us here. From trainer and client to lovers and partners, our path had been unexpected but somehow perfect in its evolution. Later that night, as we lay tangled together in the darkness of his bedroom, Jake's hands traced familiar patterns across my skin, no longer the professional touches of a trainer, but the intimate caresses of a lover who knew my body as well as his own. "You know," I murmured sleepily, "for someone who always said hands on or it won't click, your hands never did linger during those training sessions." Jake's chuckle vibrated against my back. Professional ethics. But trust me, it wasn't easy. "And now?" I asked, turning to face him. His smile was visible even in the dim light, his hands finding their way to my waist. "Now I never have to let go." And as he pulled me closer, I knew with absolute certainty that some connections transcend their beginnings. What had started as a simple fitness journey had transformed into something far more profound, a love that strengthened both body and soul, a partnership built on mutual growth and discovery. In the end, Jake had been right all along. Sometimes, hands-on is the only way for things to truly click into place. Total _char_count, 18,432.